Karts are now on the racetrack as it's time for the Indy Karting Challenge to start things off for its heat races this morning. Glad to have you with us, Justin Prince, alongside Nate Dean, as we get ready for our first races. It's the micros that begin things off this morning, as these drivers will already quickly get geared up and ready to go here. Drivers already being told they will get the green flag once they reach the start and finish line for the first time this morning. We'll see what happens for these micros. Once again, you're on Kart Chaser for today's coverage. Already getting things started. We're underway as the field makes its way to turns 1 and 2. James Fox leading the pack through the course to start.
Yeah, James Fox was one of the drivers to look out for. Last time we ran a micro here for IKC. He already has a huge gap, Justin, out of the banked corner, going down the back straightaway. He was known for making some big jumps on the rest of the field on lap 1 and extending that gap. You can already see that so far as we're looking at the rest of the field. Second on back, Fox on that number 12 top cart is gone compared to the rest of these drivers.
And they're one of the skitter scattering around for the final quarters. A slip and a slide from third spot, it looked like, for one driver. That may have been Waite. Got a confirmation wants to come across the stripe as Berger holds on to second. It is Grayson Waite who had the slide and drops all the way down to 7th. 9 seconds behind the race leader and 4 seconds behind the pack. Been racing for some of the other karts. Meanwhile, that includes drivers like Maxwell and Guzman, believe, that are looking to get things going. All while James Fox, he's very comfortable. He's driving like it's a dry track with how he's been able to pull away from Berger.
Yeah, absolutely. 2.1 seconds, the gap between Fox and Berger so far. James Fox is just in a very consistent driver from what we've seen so far from him in the 2025 IKC season, continuing to back that up. 2.9 seconds now the gap as he resets fastest time of the race of 46.778 for the number 12 top kart pilot. And like I said before we went on to the paywall and in the qualifying stream, the key to today is just keeping all 4 tires on the track. You can have that outright pace that James Fox has, but as long as he keeps his tires out of the grass, out of the water, then he should be fine to go, as we do have some quite short races. Should mention too, Justin, 2 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock already. So not to add another thing that is already the wet and tricky conditions, but some really fast, punchy races for these drivers is going to make it interesting for today.
All right, some swapping around for the third spot. Seen Diesel Maxwell moving up a spot on the move. Last time by down the straightaway, Miles Hale has now had some issues as well. That's seen him drop down the pylon, 6 seconds behind the nearest kart. Already a lot of people having near wide moments there. That was near trouble that time for McNeely. So he continues on the pavement and keeps on the racing surface. Looking at the rest of the karts as they get all geared around the track, less than 2 minutes to work with. The leaders have already pulled away on one side of the racetrack. The other side of the racetrack, already seen drivers just search for where the puddles are not at full speed and full sawn. These drivers are running 47 seconds out there, mind you, in terms of lap times.
Yeah, and just touching on the standing water and puddles, it doesn't seem like there's a ton on track for these guys and girls to have to avoid. Just a few small puddles here and there that you're able to drive through, but nothing too treacherous on track. You see a bit of standing water to drivers left of James Fox there, and if you go too wide, if you're battling with someone through this complex, you might have to deal with more standing water that's a bit offline, but not something you have to worry about when you're driving by yourself. But see, they're coming across the line once again. James Fox, about a minute left in this race, at least on the time, does not improve his fast time, about 3 seconds off of what he has run before, but just staying consistent, not making any mistakes. He's got a 2.3 second gap. At this point, you can just cruise your way home to secure that pole position for the final.
Yeah, looking very good right now in terms that has to make sure he doesn't have a repeat, though. Last time by, it was a 2.3 second interval after all. Berger gaining that time on the track. A little bit more smoother for your race leader as Fox makes its way out of the final corner and keeps up the pace and keeps it together here. No signal for the flag stand. Indeed, the speed back where it needs to be for Fox within a tenth of a second of the PB time compared to Berger. Mind you, by the way, Maxwell has been able to build up a cushion now over McNeely by 2 seconds. Also, a good recovery for Wade. Has just seen him now having a battle with Mateus Guzman. Guzman going back and forth, and now rather Grayson Wade has had more issues, it looks like, to correct myself. He's now fallen down the pylon on this lap back to last spot. So these drivers have one good lap, then have had some struggles to keep the pace together here.
Yeah, and I think Berger was one of them who possibly made a mistake a lap ago or two, because what was a 2.3 second gap went to 9 seconds last time across the timing and scoring beacon, and there you can see the gap between Fox and the challenging pack. It's up to 10.8 seconds now. So like I was saying before, now he can really lay off the throttle and just bring it home as they got the 2 to go last time by.
Someone slid hard off the course, didn't get the number plate there in that case. But looked to be maybe McNeely, possibly. Already a lot more drivers slipping and falling off the circuit, getting ready for the white flag this time around. As here we go for James Fox. It's been dominant. He has a caution flag in the wind to keep an eye on as well, but looks to close out strong. Fox leading by a sustainable margin.
Yeah, getting through that yellow zone nice and clean for him. 12.7 seconds is impressive for Fox, but you have to give it to the rest of the field too, especially in this class. We were dealing with lap traffic last weekend in dry conditions, and now in the wet, everyone's holding it together fairly well. So kudos to these micro drivers, some of the youngest that will be racing today, and doing an incredible job.
Coming to the checker flag, James Fox putting on a clinic to start off the day. He takes the win by double-digit seconds to start off in the Micro Swift. The rest of the field getting ready to come across the stripe by a sustainable margin behind him. Substantial distances now get closed up here with Berger over Maxwell by about a second or so to round out the podium spots. Then you have Mateus Guzman holding on to the 4th position. Behind him, Hale looks to take the checker flag to take the top 5. Grayson Wade actually got that top 5 over Hale. Patrick McNeely is a DNF as you look at the unofficial race results here, Nate. Already the tone being set at least early by Fox in race conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. It seemed like the Fox in the opening weekend, and he's held that ever since. But to be that dominant in the rain is definitely scary for the competitors, not just for today, but for the rest of the season.
Some outright dominant pace once again from Fox, as that will bring us into our next race, the Minis. Hit the track next here on Kart Chaser. Those drivers just about getting set to get the command to open up the gates here. The rain starting to fall again. You can see in the camera angles around the racetrack. So it is starting to get wet once again a little bit here in Whiteland, Indiana. Some of these other karts get information. We'll take a quick step before we get going. You're watching Kart Chaser. Back onto the racetrack they go, just on cue, as it will be 3 karts. Looks like getting the rolling command. In fact, here, Nate, to get going for this class. We'll see what Mini does today. Again, Daniel Dragunov setting the pole. Chase Call second. Blake Martinez to round out the top three in this group.
Yeah, and with Dragunov on pole, not too surprising. Daniel, like you said earlier on in the show, has been very impressive, both at club, regional, and national levels. One of those drivers to keep an eye on in this mid category and when he progresses up the ranks to junior and potentially senior.
All set to go. They'll make their way now through to the start box. Just waiting for the command to get the green flag from the commitment cone as away they drive. Green flag is out. We're underway as Dragunov, Call, and Martinez already get single filed out. Dragunov trying to shovel off the pressure. Gets himself away by a kart length.
Yeah, Dragunov has speed in the rain, and he's shown that before in 206 competition at CKNA North races before. Struggled a little bit with consistency the times that I've seen him run in the rain, just like we was saying, having that outright pace, but making the mistake here or there that can cost you a race. But that was a few years ago. This is a Daniel that has improved significantly since then and has impressed so many of us in every race that he's competed in, and already out to a 1.2 second lead over Call.
Yeah, looking very fast right now as he runs away. Nearly drove it off the course. Keeps it on the pavement as Call lost time in that same corner for good measure through turn 5. All that is going to be pretty much to say Dragunov, I think, for the race itself looks extremely comfortable and looks like the setup is dialed on in. I will ask you this then. What do you usually get set up for a rain race when you know it's going to be rainy conditions? How does that factor into the setup for some of these drivers like we see in this class compared to what you would normally see from a dry circuit?
Yeah, the second the track goes wet, it is wholesale changes to a kart. You can start with the width of front and rear axle. You're moving the front all the way out, rear all the way in to get as much grip as you can. There's other things you can do. You can take the seat struts off, as I believe might have been Dragunov or a
yes,
Call
it
behind.
is. It's Dragunov. Your leader has spun it out. Dragunov trying to get back in gear from the side of the racetrack and able to get back going. But how's that now going to fare out for the race lead here? Dragunov slipping and sliding from the lead by a sizable margin, loses it to Chase Call, and Dragunov has now fallen all the way to dead last.
Yeah, it's not what you expected, especially we started talking about weather setup because probably expecting this to be a 1-2-3 finish for how they started, but that's not what Daniel Dragunov needed. And like I was saying before, he has that outright pace, but he's made mistakes in the wet every now and then that obviously has cost him. In this instance, only 3 karts in the class, so if he starts third for the final later on today, it is by no means the end of the world. But for Daniel and that team this weekend, this is most likely going to be just a building weekend and trying to find more pace in the wet. But obviously now you want to start off the first race of the day, Justin.
Especially after looking like you're going to put on a similar performance to what we've seen in the micro. Instead, well, tides changed and now Call holds on to a 2-second lead here in this one. And that's going to be a big thing for someone like Martinez now, is hoping that there's another mistake so he can slip and slide his way to the lead. Instead, he slips and slides and loses some time there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much time Dragunov can make up. He's 7.3 back from the lead. I don't think he's got a chance at retaking that win if both of these drivers in front of him just keep it on the black stuff and don't make any mistakes. But yeah, Call's just got to do what we saw Fox do in the last race of just have a boring one out in front, make no mistakes, don't look back, and just worry about your own races. Dragunov, though, Justin, made up a lot of time last lap. He went purple, 45.7 for the 151.
So obviously that kart's got speed to the point where he might actually retake second here. There is a good shot in it if he keeps the pace up, actually. The gap for the lead is also shrinking also. Coming around to, it's going to be close if we get a signal for, if it's 2 or 3 to go. It looks like 3 to go. It's going to be the indication from the board. And right now, Chase Call is putting on the pressure. Dragunov, he's coming. In fact, he is going for second to the inside. Dragunov retakes second. He might have a shot to retake this lead.
Dragunov's going to make me eat my words about him not being in it for the race when making up 2 seconds on Martinez last time by, making that move like you called, Justin, in what would be turn 5, and now just a couple tenths behind the race leader, and we could see spin and win for Daniel Dragunov up the inside, side by side down the front straightaway. It's going to be a new leader with 2 laps to go. Daniel Dragunov back to the point.
Going from spinning and falling back by at least 11 seconds. Dragunov able to retake the lead based on pure speed and power. He was 3 seconds quicker than the rest of the field the previous time by before the pass. And now, all he has to do is not make any mistakes for the next 2 laps. Less than 2 laps to go. Coming up to the white flag this time by. Extremely impressive. We talked about his experience in some of the national events, including in some of the sportsmen with CKNA. And now he comes around to take the white flag as the leader by the same margin, if not just about more, from when he was around last time.
Yeah, he's going to take it very easy into turn 7 this time. I can assure you that. Don't want to throw away this win for a second time as a driver around. I believe that's Martinez in the cutoff. But what an impressive run it's been for Dragunov. Justin, of course, this is only the pre-final, and we have the final later on. But an amazing run for the 151 New Gen driver.
He'll come around the final corners here with ease. After the spin arounds last time, through 9 on the exit, there goes Dragunov to the checker flag, a spin and win. Daniel Dragunov comes away with the victory in the heat. An impressive one for Kart 151 over Chase Call. 4.2 seconds is the margin of victory. Blake Martinez, the last driver in this field. That took a lot of speed. That took a great kart. That took a better driver for Daniel to recover that.
Yeah, absolutely. Not much more you could say, especially to win that race by 4.2 seconds after a spin. And that's just an incredibly impressive performance by Daniel Dragunov, and look forward to seeing what he can do in the final later on.
Already 2 of our heats complete just like that, though. 206 medium due up next in the order as we look to quickly get ourselves racing. And the one trend that I am seeing, the big margins, it's not a group pack, groupings of drivers that you normally see here today. It's straight down to, can you manage the track almost? With what we've seen in the battles.
Yeah, absolutely. Usually on any other day, your fight is with the other drivers. When it comes to rain racing, it's the fight's with the track, and these drivers have definitely been fighting it today. Whiteland's not an easy track to drive in the wet, is waiting on next class up. Some 206 action with the medium classes. We wait for the gates to open up for our first Briggs race of the day.
They're just waiting to get that command to be able to get going fully. Brandon Heber led the way in qualifying. Nick Patton, Nicholas Nostman were the top three in that session. Levi Wilbur qualified fourth. Andrew Goldman qualified in the fifth position. Logan Lynch in sixth. And Yusuf Durte did not take part in the qualifying session. We'll see if that kart does make it onto the racetrack for the actual race. What are some of these discussions like in the paddock, you think, here today, knowing it's pretty cold, it's pretty rainy, and, well, you're looking to go racing? What's the discussion like as a driver when you're getting ready out in that paddock?
I think it's pretty lighthearted on rain days. Like I was saying, the fight that you have on these days is more with the track itself, so everyone's kind of just talking a little bit more, having some fun with the difficult conditions, and just trying to make light of the situation is what I always went for when I was racing in the rain. So some drivers might have some other ways of, doing those pre-race rituals, but just laughing with friends on grid is the best way for me, at least.
Could be definitely interesting. Some of the pre-race discussions. Looks like some of the communication coming in for the gates now. Let's see if they get the roll through here. Yes, they are. So the gates are open, and the drivers are ready to go. Again, the blue Kart of Heber will lead things up front for this field for today. So it looks like we can confirm that. Looks like we have about 6 karts out there on the racetrack for our first heat for 206 medium today. So, all set to go here. Once they get the green flag, they'll once again get about, give or take, with the laps, they're turning 7 or 8 laps. Should be about a fair ballpark for the competitors today. Let's see what they're able to do here. Again, for those watching along, happy with us here this morning here on Kart Chaser for the heats and finals for the Indy Karting Challenge K1 Circuit Whiteland. All set to go. And green. We're underway for 206 medium. And already with argy-barginess, one driver pushed off the racetrack. Haber already losing the lead to start things off to Nick Patton as the rest of the pack tries to make itself sorted out.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting once we get to the bigger classes on the day. Getting through that cut through, the track gets so narrow through there, and everyone's fighting for their own piece of real estate. So not too surprised to see a driver go around there, expecting that more throughout the day. But unfortunate way to start off your race. But like we saw with Daniel Dragunov, if you spin, it's not over. It's got to keep your head down and try and fight your way back up. But Braden Heber is definitely going to be doing that after losing the lead, crossing the timing and scoring line. Nick Patton leading the way. It'll have to be for how long, because Heber looks fast in that second spot.
Always very fast in that blue number 8 machine, just looking for a way to poke and prod his way to the front right now. The top two start to work together to pull off and away from Lynch and Nostman. No poke this time from Heber, but he is able to pressurize near a mistake for Patton. Tries to cut to the inside. No move alongside to be able to get to the number plate. Just trying to fall in the tire tracks, it looks like, for the time being, and build up the run to try and get a pass set up.
Yeah, and Heber is just going to be content with being in that second spot for a little bit. You have a couple of options. I mean, when you're in that second spot, especially in the rainy conditions, one, you're putting pressure on the driver in front of you to make a mistake. So if they do go off track, it's obviously making your life a lot easier, but it's also helping you get a grip of where that fast line is. You can see there, Heber looking up the inside as they head down the back straightaway into turn 7. New leader, Braden Heber, almost got crossed over by Nick Patton. So they're making their way through the final couple of corners on the track. There, we picked them back up, and Heber getting that job done pretty clinically, Justin, as they made their way into turn 7, and now he's just got to extend that gap for the remainder of this race.
Question is, can he indeed extend it as far as he can go, or rather, how far can he extend it? Right now, Nossman holding on to third spot. For those wondering, Wilbur is currently scored last on the track, 1 lap back after 31 seconds behind from the spin earlier on the opening lap. That's not going to help Wilbur in the point standings. But we have seen Braden do some great things here at this racetrack. I remember a lot of the races he put on some intense battling in that blue kart all throughout the season. It stands out. The kart does. It pops. But also as a driver, he is, mind you, also a track record holder out at MCC out in Cincinnati as well. So he's been able to perform at multiple different tracks across Ohio and Indiana.
Yeah, he's one of the drivers to look out for whenever you see him on the entry list for a 206 race. He has been very quick around Whiteland these past couple years for IKC. When he goes to CK&A competition, he's up there fighting for top 5s as well. Got to watch him battle it out at Road America for CK&A North last year. It was a difficult weekend for him. Got into a practice crash on Friday with the driver I can't remember right now, but ended up getting a podium and I think a top 5 out of that weekend as well. So from the few times I've actually been able to see him in person, he's definitely impressed me, and now watching him the past couple of weekends, just clinical performance from him so far.
Right now the gap is 1.6 seconds. Of note, Lynch has fallen down the pylon. He's now had some issues this lap. That's seen him fall down outside the top 4. Still has not come across the timing line to update where he is on the circuit. Mind you, as this is all going on, you mentioned you were expecting big things from Nick Patton here today. Well, Patton is keeping things good for starting position, at least for the main. If things all go the way things plan to go here. And he's going to be happy about the speed here, at least, to be able to fend up Notzman for these next few laps here.
Yes, I think the yellow flag you saw there was for a driver in the wall. It's in between turn 9 and turn 1 on the front straightaway. So Whiteland staff getting them checked out and making sure they're all okay. So we'll have to see if those yellow flags are still there when we come back around. It's already being displayed in turn 7, as I think they got that cleared. So we should be good to go racing. But Braden Heber not making a lot of racing in this pre-final race with how far ahead he is. That 2-second gap continues to grow throughout this pre-finals. I believe we'll be getting 2 laps to go this time by. So just a couple more laps for Heber to hold on to it. However, Justin, I say that, Nick Patton is closing in 7/10 to the good for Patton last time.
The gap is starting to compress a little bit here with some of these drivers making some mistakes. In fact, compressing a lot of bit here. Patton gaining a lot of time all of a sudden. Is something going on with the 8 kart here as he moves to the left, goes defensive. Patton tries to go for the crossover. Looks to now try and cut back outside. Now hugging the bottom is Heber. Patton builds the run, turns right, goes to the race lead. White flag is out. Final time around as Heber's kart fades away. Patton rises up to the occasion to the lead.
Yeah, it just looks like Heber doesn't have power on the straightaways. I think water might be getting into that engine underneath that cover on the air filter. Really unfortunate for Heber. I'll have to find out what happened there, but my best guess is water is getting into that engine, Justin.
Drop it all the way back to third as a result of whatever's happened there. But for Nick Patton, he comes away to pick up the pieces. All he has to do is make one more corner. Nussman looking to pressurize the mistake now for the win. Patton doesn't make the mistake. It is Nick Patton who comes away with the win in 2:06 senior medium.
Yeah, good run by Nick there. Just keep his foot in it. And, seeing that 2-second gap, you kind of think as a driver might be out of it. But then with Heber having that issue that forces him down to third there, a good run for Patton to get that win.
The Nussman, Heber, Goldman is next up in the order. And then Levi Wilbur and Logan Winch 5 laps down for the 12 Kart. Puts him well down the running order for the checker flag in 2:06 medium. So look once again at the running order for the medium drivers here today, as that will get us all set for our next group, KA Junior. Hello, fan, as well. To those looking to say hello, we hope you're ready for some more racing. As we get set to gear up for the action here, the drivers just getting the last checks together for they go back around this circuit here, Nate, already halfway through our heats.
Yeah, it's been interesting so far, even with the amount of separation we've seen at some points between drivers. The rain has thrown a wrench in the works as KA Junior on track and ready to go for their pre-final here today.
Time to see how they go about things for this one today. Mason Gallion set the pole over Lucian Laser, Evan Patton, Andrew Avalos, Ryan Mort was a DNS in the qualifying session. Looks like just 4 karts in this field today. We've seen some back and forth for the qualifying amongst these drivers in their session. Let's see if we get some back and forth in the KA Junior Racing. All set to go. They go to the tram lines. A look at the start and finish line, as it may look calm right now, but these karts are about to go zoom. Zoom, zoom, away we go. Green flag is out. We're underway. Gallion and Laser work their way up front, all while Gallion holds on to the point, and they look to try and sort themselves out, group together to start.
Yeah, everyone getting through there nice and clean, single file, not wanting to, spin out there on the opening couple of corners of the race and make your pre-final hard for you. As everyone's starting to have a little bit of a bubble in the opening portions of this pre-final. Out in front, like you said, Galen, after that impressive qualifying session, leading the way, struggling a little bit with rear traction, though, through turn 9, making their way onto the front straight.
Lead going the way to Laser at the scoring pylon. Laser in the white, blue for Gallion. Patton behind as well. Avalos will be in the 4th spot in the order. And that's the tough thing about getting the starts right that you can think about is, can you get from the tram lines to the corner and clear to be able to pull off and away, while Laser is trying to do exactly that in the early going as we see them work their way through the road course.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of classes, some drivers just agreed to get through those first couple of corners single file and not do too much racing, because it's already a tough piece of track to pass on in the dry, Justin, but now we're adding the element of the wet, and especially with the corner you see them going through just now, the off-camber low grip of turn 5. It's a very difficult opening couple of sequences for corners for these guys. Most of the passes are probably going to come back here on the back section of the track, turns 7, 8, and 9. Just with how wide the track is, the passing opportunities are a lot higher. So most likely going to see that get done here throughout the day. Out in front, though, Laser leading the way over Galen after going purple last time across the stripe. We'll see if the gap shrinks. It does by 0.2 to Galen's favor as he goes purple last time across the stripe.
44.8 last time by for the 64 Kart compared to the 800 of Laser. They continue on. Now, it's going to be the interesting thing for Gallion is can he maintain that sort of a rhythm? Laser nearly hit a lot of the curbing that time, but able to straighten it on out, no issue. Coming up to 2 minutes to work with in this, and if anything, and we mentioned it looked like it was starting to rain again earlier on, it seems to have backed off here to the point where it's almost just cloudy and muggy at this point. Does this track, you think, take the opportunity to start drying out with these tire tracks? Or are you more concerned about that forecast later on where that dryness is going to turn to wetness again?
Yeah, I don't see the track drying out too much. There's a couple of factors you have to bring into that. One, how many karts you have on track. Don't have a ton today with a lot of drivers just opting out of the weather, which completely fine. It's some tough conditions, so cannot blame any of those drivers at all. Secondly, the track is not getting a lot of heat from the cloud cover, not allowing the sun to get down and do its thing there. And that's the thing, the cloud cover and the overall air temperature just not allowing the track to dry off. So I think we're going to see this conditions throughout the day. This is probably the best it will get for these drivers. I don't see a dry line forming anytime soon. So they're just going to have to get used to running in the wet conditions and not hope for any dry racing later on today.
And the interesting thing about this track as well right now is wherever you'd normally see a passing opportunity has not been there today. Like that long back straightaway would normally be a chance for drivers to pounce with the draft. Not today. Front straightaway would be an opportunity for draft. Not today. Right now, the passing opportunities are very limited. This is some of the best wheel-to-wheel racing we've seen so far on the day right now with how close they're able to get together here. It looks like there is an attempt to draft. There is an attempt to pass. Gallion to the inside. Misses the bottom. Laser crosses him over. But Gallion gets the preferred line back to take the race lead. All while he slips out of it, back to Laser, the lead goes.
Yeah, we're going to see some interesting racing on this back half of the circuit, almost like some dirt style as we go 2 to go this time by. I was thinking, looking as practice was going on, we're going to get a couple sliders, a couple slide jobs throughout today. And like we saw last time with the driver going for the pass, he had it done, then he got onto that slick part of the racetrack where the rubber buildup is on the inside line, completely lost the rear end of the kart and allowed Laser to get back to the lead. We're going to see a bit of deja vu here, Justin, up the inside in 7.
Looking right now on the side-by-side. Laser holds on again. Gallion now cuts left. Way left, in fact, for the corner. Crosses him up. Couldn't get the kart to stick. Coming around to the white flag this time by. The winds continue to gust as Laser looks to gust away up in front.
Yeah, it's just got to get a good run out of turn 5 and 6 here. It seems like where he's struggled a little bit and it's struggling again. We're going to see another pass for the lead potentially here, Justin, by Galen. 3 laps in a row. Can he make it stick this time?
Side by side, Gallion now sends it for the point. Takes it away from Laser. Laser not having the chance to respond. Gallion slides. Laser slides it back. He slips and misses the groove. They make near contact. Laser goes off into the grass. He rides the grass. Oh, while Gallion comes across the line and takes it away on the last lap.
Yeah, how about that? That was some great racing between those two. Keeping it respectful, too. Staying off of each other's side pods. Going to be looking forward to the final later on today for these KA juniors. How about it, though? You don't need a lot of karts to make a race. All you need is Kalen and Laser out front battling for the win. It was 1.3 seconds between them, obviously, with Galen going off in the penultimate corner, with Laser going off in the penultimate corner there. But KA Senior out on track next. Don't have to wait very long for more KA action as the gates are getting ready to open for their pre-final.
One more look at the results. It is Galen coming away over Laser, Patton, Avalos, the top 4 lineup order in that one. What a finish between those two. But our next group gets the command to go. KA Senior and Masters is the way this class is usually sorted out for this slot. And now it will be, for these drivers today, Raider Santos leading the way to the green over AJ Lund. Jediah Jonas will be in third, Blake Finley, then Macy Gallion, Dane Van Dyke were the 6 that put in qualifying laps in the session. It looks like control for Santos will be coming from the right on your screen, from that inside line. It's at the outside, makes some good passes for the lead so far today. All ready to go. Green, green, green. And we're underway for KA 100 Senior and Master. All these senior drivers making their way to the course. Off to a good start up front for Santos as the rest of the field gets sorted out for the most part.
Yeah, exactly what Santos had to do there. Get through the opening couple of corners clean, get a good launch out of turn 5 and extend that gap out in front. Losing a little bit of time there in 7 to Lund in that second spot, but a good jump for Santos. Trying to go wide there, trying to find grip. Unfortunately, there was a huge puddle there. AJ Lund will take the point on the inside, but Santos with the runner on the outside couldn't quite get it done. A little squirrely there on the rear end, trying to get power down as new leader that time by AJ Lund takes it away from pole sitter Ryder Santos.
Able to rip it away. We've seen how close they were in qualifying. They're very close to each other on a race pace right now. Right now, Lund up in front. Santos holds on to second spot at the moment. Oh, a bit of a bobble, though. Have to limit those bobbles, but no chance to bounce back from Santos as Santos takes the line wide. And one of the things right now noticing, too, these drivers don't want to go tire for tire in the corners, match up those lines, because we see this in road cars a lot here, Nate, where if you follow tire to tire, you might have problems. Something just flew off one of those carts, it almost looked like there for a moment. Hold on.
Yeah, that could be interesting to see what happened there. Of course, with these rain conditions, a lot more equipment being run on the karts. You have rain covers. Some people run duct tape in between the seat struts and the seat posts to keep the brake disc itself dry and to retain the heat in that brake for better performance on that brake pedal. So hopefully it's nothing critical. Hopefully it's not a weight or a battery or anything from those drivers, as we have more battling for that third spot. And like we were saying, it's that multiple lines that we were expecting throughout the back half of this track. If you're a fan of World of Outlaws or High Limit, you're going to feel right at home. Here is one driver hard into the barrier. That's Jonas into the barrier.
And Jonas not going to get out of that one. 36 Kart had gotten up to third, just made the pass, and is now stuck out in the rainy stuff. Oh, that's wow. Your race leaders look like this at the moment. See the 1-2 around the racetrack. Lund and Santos staying together within a kart length. Oh, a big drift out of the groove. Lund lost traction, and now it's Santos to the lead as they go to the yellow zone.
Yeah, it was a good run by Santos. And like we were saying in qualifying, Justin, people are just really struggling to get the power down out of turn 9. It's a really tricky corner. You would think with how wide it is, drivers can take it easy and be able to get on power nice as you like through there. But it seems to be a really tricky one for competitors today, as that allowed Ryder Santos to get probably the biggest margin he's had since the word go of this KA Senior and Master pre-final.
And mind you, it's a big year when it comes to Ryder Santos. His team AMAX Racing announcing he was joining Team Elite for a KA Senior debut in US PKS competition this year for 2025. It's going to be driving a Tony Kart for that competition. So the future looks bright for your race leader, to say the very least, with that organization. Also, funnily enough, is a YouTube content creator that produces a lot of his races up on social media.
Yeah, it's one of the cool things, too, with the new generation of drivers, just having a lot more of an online presence, being able to create a brand like some of the pros that we've seen on the USPKS, SCUSA, and Star schedule. So fun to see for these drivers. As 31 seconds to go. Justin Santos continuing to build that gap over Lund. It's now up to 1.8 seconds, gaining about 0.6 or so. Last time by for the AMAX driver. You mentioned him doing more of a national campaign this year, was at Daytona for the United States Pro Kart Series Daytona Super Grand Prix not too long ago in mid-March. Struggled a little bit there, but he hasn't done a ton of national racing competition. He's done a lot more at the club and regional level, like at Route 66, where hopefully we see him more, as he was really getting these grips in the 2024 season. Hopefully we can see him more in 2025 at the regional level. But clock strikes 0, 2 to go, sticks in the air this time by for Santos. 1.8 last time, 2.5 the gap.
And now it looks to see all for Santos is if he can keep on the track. We've already seen a couple of leads dwindle down or spins from the lead here today. Right now, Santos seems very comfortable on the racetrack with how he's been able to drive away with the long run pace. In that kart last time by was in the 44 twos. Rest of the field was at least in the 45-second bracket. White flag is out. Final time around for Santos. An outright good second half of this race for Santos.
Yeah, gaining a little under 0.4 of a second there on Lund. Santos just seems to be able to use that upper body weight that he has to his advantage here in these wet conditions. It's a huge advantage to have that in the wet. So obviously him using the most of that as he's making his way out of the final couple of corners now to end on top in this pre-final.
Coming through for the checker flag, Ryder Santos ends up taking away the race lead from Lund from his mistake, runs away after. Santos comes away with a win in the heat for KA Senior. London second. Rounding out the top three will be Dane Van Dyke amongst this field. Some good battling throughout so far here today. Now, get set for our next group. Here's Van Dyke in third spot, as mentioned. Macy Gallion in fourth. Blake Fennelly in fifth. Jediah Jonas rounding out the 6 karts and KA Senior. And that will mean one more thing. The Legends and Supermasters will close out the heat portion of the day here in this one. And a heads up just received. There will be a small break rather than a large break between the AM and PM side here today. So keep that in mind for your scheduling. It will be a bit more of a compressed afternoon portion. Just received word in terms of the time frame compared to what would normally be an hour and a half between the start of the qualifying from the end of the finals. We'll see only a 30-minute turnaround. So, one more grouping to go in the heats at least, and it looks like these drivers are ready to see if they can have some fun here.
Yeah, should be fun to see as we end the pre-final section of racing. As gates open, we are ready to go. But of course, with that short break, Justin, for drivers running in both afternoon and the morning groups, that short turnaround could be interesting for them if they didn't get those noon karts in the wet weather setups like last night or anything. Could be a lot of drivers rushing to get those setups ready.
So your field organized like this once again. Tom Harleman and Chad King are in the Legends. Richard Lemasters is in the Supermaster. Those are your three karts here in this class of drivers here this morning. All they have to do is take the green flag right now to see if they can get to some battling here. Seen Tom put up a qualifying effort that's seen him 4 seconds quicker than the rest of the field earlier today. We'll see if that carries over to the race. Coming up to the start zone, green flag, off and away we go. And racing we go as they look to battle it on out here. Harleman in front, King in second. Lemasters just looking to run for good points.
Yeah, Lemaster was one of the drivers that only made one lap in qualifying for this division, so he's going to have to be doing the hard part of trying to find where the speed is on this track in racing conditions. But of course, with not a lot of drivers being registered, could be a good points day for him, as a lot of others will be using that one of two drops you get for the 2025 IKC season, making their way across the timing and scoring line to get a gauge at where everyone is on track. Harleman leading the way by quite a substantial amount. Don't really even need the ticker to see that. By a couple of seconds, he leads the way over King, making his way through the banked corner and onto the back straight, as I think Lemasters Justin already calling it quits for this one.
Well, he's the only person in his class. He automatically would get the win, so you can see him just pulling off and away into the tech line already. So, that's Raul Tom Harleman doing Tom things. Looking very comfortable in the orange helmet with the black helmet. Mentioned him before last year. I talked about this with him being the owner driver with AceWorks Motorsports. It's also someone that, well, loves open wheel racing in general. Is one of the drivers that is proud of what he's been able to do at this racetrack over the years. When you talk about him, he loves this type of racing in terms of the style of the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different style of track, and especially 206 the is difficult because, when you talk about no mistake have to do to be competitive in 206 in the dry conditions, it gets a whole lot more difficult in the wet, where just a little slip out from the rear or just even the smallest of minute mistakes can really have an effect on you. Lucky for Harleman, though, he has a 9.1 second lead to King, so he can make all the mistakes he would like for the time being and still hold on to that race lead over King there on that new gen chassis you can see on screen, making his way through the banked corner.
Yes, right now just off and away by 9 seconds already. It's been that type of race. Chad King to give him a shout. Just putting up some solid laps, having no mistakes. That's the main thing about a race day like this, again, as we touched upon today. You want to be able to have some fun around this racetrack. So for Chad, We'll see if he's going to be able to find some more speed later on in the day in that 81 kart. But good points day. You have to at least put in the minds here, even with the attendance number. It's still going to be helpful on the point standings, you'd have to think.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to kind of power through these rain races sometimes, especially when, you don't get the turnout you would have wanted as a driver. You always want to race for these wins, but if he's going for a season championship, he will definitely take the points that come with a potential win today. Don't want to speak too early, but also being said, with still 50 seconds on the clock, so about 4 laps to go, 3 or 4 laps to go. 12-second gap is an impressive one so far from Harleman, crossing start-finish line yet again, and wouldn't be surprised to see that gap to go up to maybe 16 or 17 seconds.
Yeah, and definitely would be much bigger if there's more time on the board, but right now, all you have to think about is finishing off the race. No problems, no issues. Don't have any kart issues, to say the very least. Just make sure you keep the kart as clean as possible for the final and for whatever racing goes forward from here on out. Tom Harleman continues on here still. Plenty of time to work with right now for Tom as he continues to put on a clinic of a performance.
Yeah, just hitting his marks, doing what he needs to do to get the job done in this pre-final. Of course, we got a longer version of this race in the final coming up in about an hour or so for the Legends and Supermaster class. Out of turn 9, Harleman will come for what should be 2 laps to go, 6 in the air from Flagman. We'll see him now, and indeed it is 2 laps to go with that 18-second lead for Harleman.
See that motor just purring away as they make their way around the racetrack. Harleman took off from the start of this one, has not looked back since then, and now is ready to close it on out, more than 20 seconds up. And of note, no longer seeing the rooster tails, it looks like, pop up for much of this racetrack like we were seeing earlier for much of the circuit. It's more of a mist in some of the puddle areas. And if there are rooster tails, it's minimum amongst them now. 1 lap to go for Tom.
Yeah, just got to keep it on track of what is a drying circuit. One thing to note, obviously, with the repave they had a couple years ago, there's not going to be as much cracks or areas for the water to seep through once it does decide to dry off. So that's just another factor for how slow expecting this track to dry off, if it does even today. Is see just a little under half a lap to go for Harleman to close out this pre-final.
Outright dominant. There's no other way to put it for Tom Harleman. Coming through the final corner. Took off, ran away, and then some. One of the largest margins you'll see for a heat race. Tom Harleman comes away with the victory. Does so by a very wide margin over Chad King. Richard Masters already securing the Supermaster victory, pulling off an in for his heat earlier on. So, your thoughts on the heat races as the heat racing comes to a close for the morning?
I think we're in for some good ones for the final. Of course, like we've seen kind of further back in the pack, drivers start to fan out a little bit, but the battles for the win in most of the classes have been pretty good, and when they haven't, we've seen some brilliant displays of dominant driving and just textbook driving out in front by these drivers. So looking forward to it. The KA classes seem like they're going to be interesting to watch indeed, as we are getting set and ready to go for the Micro Swift final. A lot of top kart representation there. Blake Deester and the boys are going to be happy with that. Of course, with them being based here at Whiteland Raceway Park, having a ton of laps does this crew around Whiteland, Indiana. They are getting set and ready to go for the final.
And getting all ready to go zoom around the racetrack. Already looking like a quick turnaround with plenty of top karts all set to line up here. See all the matching color schemes for them, in fact, with their special nameplates on the sides of the race cars. Amongst some of the front-running drivers in this class for when they get the command to go in the next couple moments or so here. As well, you can see the tread on the racing tires. Those rain tires had to have that tread to be able to stick on the racetrack and channel that water through. Looks like they're getting the gates opening. No 10-minute break here today between the heats and the final. We're going to go zoom right now.
These Micro Swift drivers are going to be liking that. Just the feeling of sitting on grid for too long isn't something you like as a driver. So once the engines fire, you can throw that visor down and get things going. Get back into your element, your happy place is where these drivers will feel the most comfortable, even if it is a very challenging K1 circuit Whiteland today.
James Fox, Ari Berger, Diesel Maxwell, Mateus Guzman on the lineup, followed by Grayson Waite, Miles Hale, Patrick McNeely. Expect to start at the tail for this group as they need to get grouped together here. They are really spread apart here. And let's see, are we going to get the green? Yes, we are. We are underway. We're crashing and flipping. One kart upside down to the front straightaway. The rest of the field drives off and away. Not a pretty start at all as one of the top karts went up and over.
Yeah, not at all what you want to see there. Hopefully that driver is okay. Luckily, the on-site medics are stationed right in that corner, so there shouldn't be red flag, though, for Micro Swift. So the K1 circuit Whiteland officials will be going to work and making sure that driver is okay. Like I was saying, the on-site medic is stationed maybe like 100 feet away from where that flip occurred, so not going to have to be a ton of waiting for drivers to get assistance. As during this red flag, we are going to step away and take a commercial break. You are watching the Indy Karting Challenge live on Kart Chaser.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
To the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the two-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Still under the red flag here at K1 Circuit Whiteland as we continue on with the action. Drivers getting sorted, looking like we're going to have a full restart for these drivers after one kart flipped up and over to start off the race. And now these drivers continue to wait and see where they go from here after a wild start to the affairs as the crew members sort up this field here, Nate. Of course, obviously hoping the driver that did flip is okay in this situation.
Yeah, obviously hoping driver is okay there, as we've worked with the on-site medical here at Whiteland before for Route 66 events, some of the best in the business. So they'll be attending to them as officials reshuffle the grid to get everything ready to go for this restart here in Micro Swift.
Yes, you see them all getting lined up, regrouped together. We had 7 starters originally in this field. There are 5 drivers getting all sorted out at the moment. That is an interesting get up, by the way, for Diesel Maxwell. I don't think I've noticed that before for his helmet. Has a mohawk on top of the helmet and now gets a front row starting position after the wild start.
Yeah, you gotta love the mohawk look. It almost looks like a Bryce Merceberger last year, Route 66, had a shark fin on the top of his helmet. Little callback there, but getting ready to go back green for Micro Swift as they will get the green flag on first time of asking, and around the outside is the driver with that mohawk on his helmet. Diesel Maxwell, Justin, will take the lead on the opening corners of this race.
Took advantage of a great start from the outside as the rest of the field loses a lot of ground there. Get things fully lined up in terms of the order in just a moment here as several of those blue and white carts get all lined up and squared away. But getting a good start is a perfect art form. And now Maxwell is getting pressurized already for that race lead.
Yeah, Maxwell doing a good job to defend that race lead at the early stages of this race. It's a long one for these Micro Swift drivers, 10 minutes plus 2 laps. Fox going for the lead, though, already as Top Kart USA back to the point. The number 12 machine leads the way like he did in the pre-final. Now that's going to leave the AMAX driver of Diesel Maxwell to try and catch back up. But look at the gap already, Justin, about probably a second and a half between himself and Diesel Maxwell in second. It's going to be a big ask for the AMAX driver piloting that 141 machine to try and retake that lead.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of effort right now. We've seen how quick Fox was earlier on today, and now in this final is off to the races with a 46.8 to run away from the rest of the pack. Remember, 10 minutes plus 2 laps up on the board. A lot more time to think, a lot more time for you to stretch out your legs even. And right now, some of these drivers looking to see if they can stretch forward. Ari Berger right now in third. Guzman is running in the fourth position as things stand in the early going in this one.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot more time in this race. Forgot to mention a lot more time to make a mistake, too, as over double the amount of time that you have in this final compared to the pre-final. You can see already disappearing just off screen there, James Fox had a 2-second gap last time across the stripe. Wait for Diesel Maxwell to cross. It's 4.2 now as Fox does a 46.6 compared to Diesel Maxwell's 48.8. So really stretching the legs on that Roll Blue Top Kart machine out in front. Fox has just looked so impressive in this Micro Swift category in 2025 and is putting in a real challenge for not only the race win today, but potential championship in the micro category as we go on with the 2025 IKC season.
Should correct myself. No Ari Berger in the order right now. You see it on the pylon. Originally was scored up in the front row. Of course, obviously with the issues that happened, that's not the case. Guzman with a bit of a drift, though. Here comes McNeely. McNeely up the right side of the racetrack, taking away a spot. Able to drive back up and away on the pass as a result of the drift, as these drivers still try and battle the track.
Yeah, it's just like we've been saying all day, Justin. The back half of this track is producing some incredible racing with the multiple lines you can take through there. As you can see, the rain is starting to pick back up again, as one of our cameramen doing an excellent job picking that up. As out of turn 7 they go. Still a little bit of a gap for McNeely in that third spot with the rest of the challenging pack behind. Over 6 seconds now for James Fox out in front, just checking up with him. That's now 8.3 seconds to lead. So 6 minutes and plus 2 laps for James Fox. Just keep it on the road, not make any mistakes. As that's a mistake there from Guzman off the road as the Top Kart machine. It's going to be difficult to get that thing up and going again on its own power. Officials might be able to help and get him back going, but that's unfortunate from running in fourth with a potential to get on the podium for him.
Yeah, very unfortunate here in this final. And now to get helped out of the mud as we see the separations up in front with Fox and Maxwell with 6 minutes to work with on the track. Fox drives on by. There is Guzman already off at the side of the barrier, watching his kart at the moment. So, what kind of goes to your mind now with these gaps like this, with the way things are shaping up? What goes to your mind as a driver when you know you've got the fastest kart and you've got a substantial buffer like you do in the case of James?
Yeah, it's hard because the entire time you're trying to not focus on what's going through your mind. You're just trying to clear your head and just trust your instinct to get that job done. It's kind of harder to do at the micro, mini, and junior level, but assume they're just trying to focus on apexes and exits, just making sure he puts the kart the same spot every single lap. There you see Guzman off and getting escorted off track to a safer spot. But yeah, it's really tricky conditions, Justin, especially when you're out in this lead and you don't feel the pressure and your mind starts to wander a little bit. That's when the mistakes start to creep in. And it's something that Fox is going to have to be very careful of. That being said, however, did an incredible job in the pre-final. He's doing a great job thus far. So far, for the number 12 Top Kart driver, it's looking good for him.
Looking really good right now with the way things are shaping up, absolutely. So, it's going to be interesting. The next 5 minutes come out to play with as on this racetrack. 4 karts still running at the moment. Been impressed with what we've seen from Patrick McNeely, by the way, to give him a shout, still in the 3rd position. He's dropped back from Maxwell's spot as this race has gone on. That 538's been sporty, has had to come from the back, is now able to work to a podium spot with how things are looking, but still has to fight off that 5 kart.
Yeah, and there you see that battle for the final podium spot. Expect that to go on for the rest of the race unless these two make a mistake. There you can barely see Diesel Maxwell off in the distance, has a couple seconds to the good, as Diesel having a much better weekend this time around than what you saw last time in the opening round of the IKC season. Diesel is one of the drivers who I don't think has much weight on the kart, so we might be a little overweight in the class. However, unlike in the dry, where that's a huge disadvantage, having a little bit of extra weight and more of that towards further up in the kart is a huge advantage to finding time in this kind of condition, as McNeely and Wyatt continue to battle away. Up the inside is Wyatt trying to make that move, doesn't get it done, as McNeely's going to hold on to that for the time being.
Yep, for now. Right now, Grayson trying to find some open space to drive and find a way to poke around here. Missed line from McNeely, side by side. Here comes Waite to the right side. Able to zip in front. Squeezing the front nose of McNeely on the pass as they come to under 3 minutes to go.
That was an impressive move from Waite, wasn't it? Doing the high, wide, and handsome line through turn 5 there is trying to find any grip that he can. It seems like throughout the day, drivers are starting to creep more and more left in turn 5, which is the hairpin before the banking, to try and find more grip. It's very reminiscent of what you see in dirt racing, where the cushion continues to push up lap by lap throughout an event, and you have to get a little bit more daring to try and find that time. So especially for these micro Swift drivers to be doing that, that's incredibly impressive. Like we said, this is at least today the youngest category we have, with no kid karts in the running for the second round of the IKC season. So for our youngest competitors on the day, they are doing an incredible job on track.
Some exciting racing throughout the day. Absolutely exciting racing from this class that we've seen pop up with some of the battling and putting on some clean racing now that we've gone green here. You see the top two have that big gap amongst them. Diesel Maxwell continues to look rad and comfortable in that blue and yellow kart with a minute to work with before we get towards the lap count itself. Right now, still continuing on with the cool factor, you can say a little bit with that helmet once again. Just continuing to drive forward here. No wind resistance from that helmet.
Yeah, Diesel's got that cool factor on and off track. One of the funnier characters in the paddock is Diesel. So nice to see him having a good run, running in second. His first full season in Micro Swift competition after moving up from kid karts last season. So it's a difficult move up for these drivers, especially with Diesel skipping the next step on the ladder that you would usually take from a kid kart, which being 206 Sportsman, going up to this micro Swift category, and this package is very difficult for drivers to get used to. As more yellow flags in this section of the track. That would be interesting if that's a lap kart or if it's James Fox. Can't quite get an idea there if that's the same driver that won off or it's a different one. Justin, might have been it's not McNeely because he's on a top kart, but we'll have to see what that was.
Grayson Wade has driven his way just about all the way up to Maxwell, mind you, as the clock reaches zeros. As it looks like, yes, that's another kart that's had some issues, and I believe that may have been
Fox.
James. That is Fox that had issues off the track. He is back going after leading by 19 seconds. Maxwell now has the lead instead with 2 laps on the board.
This could be huge for Diesel Maxwell. He hasn't had a win in at least regional competition. He might have some in kid karts here at Whiteland, but that is huge for Fox. Like we were saying at the start of the show, yes, you have more time to figure the track out. Yes, you got more time to settle in, but you have more time to make mistakes. And for that to happen so late in the race, he's not going to be able to come back from that one. As he's down in 4th. He's not going to be on the podium. He's a lap down. Diesel Maxwell could have a potential race win. Is around goes Maxwell too, as that's another leader who's around. That was in turn 9, and with just 1 lap to go, everyone's starting to struggle here. It looks like the rain is really starting to come down now, Justin.
It's about that time of the radar. Around noon was when it was expected to come back. And now it's starting to come back. Now with slipping and sliding here. Grayson Waite had been one of the drivers that was towards the back half of the original starting grid, was one of the drivers who slid back in the heat race off the track. And now he, in this final, just needs to hold on for a couple more corners. Diesel Maxwell and James Fox both have spins from the race lead. And the 5 kart will take advantage. Checkered flag coming up here. What a run after being last in the points coming in. Grayson Waite comes away with the win.
What a way to end that race. A ton of drama in that micro Swift final. How about it for Grayson Waite? Just having to be patient throughout that race and wait for his time. And now he'll find himself on the top step of the podium today. Congrats to him and the top kart teams who gave it their all. You can see it there, Justin. It is really starting to come down. Like you said, it was on the radar. We saw the drop start to form in the puddle that we showed on screen not too long ago, and now the track is really going to start to get even more wet than it already was.
Yeah, this is going to really add to the slippery factor when talking about that radar situation. Looking back at the weather report, again, per the Weather Channel, rain chances right now are as high as 97% in the next couple hours. 100% heavy rain by 3 p.m. is the estimate. Right now we're at about, this is 74% in terms of what you expect in condensation. Well, it's about to get wild now for our next class of drivers, isn't it here? How does this change how you drive now, knowing it's raining sideways?
Yeah, it's going to get interesting. It might, obviously we're not driving, so we don't know the exact conditions, but it could almost make things easier for drivers with the wet weather tires being designed for the rainy conditions and not like an intermediate that we were almost starting to get to with what was sort of a drying track. So we might see the tires come into more of an optimal window when more of this rain comes down, when the track starts to cool off a little bit.
Indeed. It's going to get interesting to say the very least now. Did receive word, by the way, through the chitter chatter that the 30-minute lunch break is confirmed now. 2 all drivers following the last AM final. Then drivers will now roll into the afternoon warm-ups and continue to go racing. Now, of note, no kid karts enter the kid kart program here today, so no kid karts for the schedule today. Now, our next class of drivers has 3 drivers. We've seen Daniel Dragunov have to come back from a spin from double-digit seconds back and won the race as a result by more than 4 seconds. He'll start in front. Chase Call. Blake Martinez is the other kart in this field. This is going to get very fun to see how far can the 151 go, or better yet, can Chase Call or Blake Martinez pull off the upset?
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them to find that amount of time over the break that we saw Daniel Dragunov being able to put down. Hopefully he makes it, for his sake, he makes it a little bit easier on himself than what he did last race. It's just 2 other competitors out there. You just got to keep it on track. But like we've been saying over the past couple minutes, rain started to come down harder. So a whole new challenge for these Mini Swift drivers.
It's time to go Mini Swift racing. The field all grouped together here and ready to rumble. Happy with us here still on Kart Chaser on a rainy day. The green flag is out. Dragunov leads them off through the corner, and off and away we go. A good start for the 151 kart. Chase Call tries to stay up in the tire tracks.
Yeah, and just unable to in those opening couple of corners. Daniel Dragunov being so confident on cold tires and conditions that he hasn't run in anger before, with the rain continuing to come down. A very impressive opening half a lap for him. And you can see already to have that big of a gap after just 1 lap is so impressive for Daniel Dragunov, but really not too surprised because he is a driver that has been so impressive from the regional and national levels when he competes. He's definitely one to keep your eye on over the next couple years. Remember the name Daniel Dragunov, because we're definitely going to be seeing more of him fighting for wins from club to national level.
Yeah, right now that lead last time by the stripe, 2.4 seconds, by the way. Absolutely massive scenes as he runs away from Call. And now it's the question, what goes to mind for the other drivers when you see a kart like this just take off?
It's a little demoralizing, to be completely honest. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's really unfortunate when you're just a couple laps in and you have a 4.8 second gap to try and make up. If you're obviously don't know what these mini drivers are thinking at such a young age, but if you're a senior or a junior, you're just hoping that you keep it on track. And if something happens to Daniel, then you just got to capitalize off of it. It's definitely something that Colin Martinez will be thinking about, since it did happen last race. It can happen again. So just for these guys, you got to worry about your own race. First of all, worry about your own kart and the things you can control. If stuff happens to your competitors on track, so be it. But again, just got to worry about your own race.
Yeah, right now, Call has about a 10-second buffer over Martinez as things turn. I do have to say, with calling the action now for almost a year here in terms of combined races here at K1 Circuit Whiteland, I really love this track. It's the oldest racetrack in the country, after all. It's been managed for years and years with different layouts and different racing series coming into town here in Indianapolis and its region. This track is a historic staple when it comes to kart racing, you can argue.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not even an argument. That's a pretty much a fact in kart racing. It's such a cool facility to been to. I've been here about 3 or 4 times for Route 66 or CKNA events. Just an amazing facility. The O'Garas did an incredible job to bring this back to life. And now, with K1 taking over, one of the biggest brands in North American karting, it's in some good hands for the future. And obviously, the staff here do an incredible job whenever Route 66 rolls into town. They're a joy to work with. Quick shout out to the staff too, as well, because with the rainy conditions, they don't have a garage or anything to go back to. Yes, they have the little huts on track, but still, standing out in rainy conditions all day isn't the most fun at times. So if you see one of the K1 Circuit Whiteland workers today, definitely give them a thank you for their job here today, especially and with the Kart Chaser crew members here filming all the action for the second round of IKC.
Absolutely. Looking right now at Call as he makes his way around the racetrack, by the way. Call continues to hold on to second. Right now the margin for him to that spot, 13 seconds. That's how things are going here at the moment. So, see if he keeps this on the racetrack. But the way things are going here with the rainy conditions continuing to increase. 5 minutes up on the board to go just about here at the moment. Martinez trying to find a way to chip away the gap to at least get a chance to get up to second here.
Yeah, about lost 9/10 last time by, but it's not as big of a margin loss that we've seen in previous laps for Blake Martinez between himself and Chase Call. There's Martinez making his way through turn 5, what was scheduled to be turn 5. It's really turn 3 on this layout. But down the back straight, you can see Blake Martinez making his way, the 38 Alonso Kart. Trying to find the grip, going around the outside of the patching there in turn 7, just avoiding all the rubber buildup that might be on track. So just continuing to take it nice and easy, keep all 4 tires on the black stuff, and continue on his way. Only 3 in this class, so everyone will be on the podium, but still, they'll be trying to reshuffle the order throughout the remaining 4 minutes plus 2 laps to go.
An interesting time here at the racetrack right now with the separations, with the way things have built up here today. So all of this being said here, you're dragging off lean by now what is 18 seconds at the moment over Call. Remember, we still have, after this, 4 more races on the card. 206 medium, KA junior, KA senior, and what is usually the Masters, and then 206 Legends and Supermasters follows up in the order after that point as well, with how things are looking here. I will give huge credit to the crew members here at this racetrack here today. With the delays earlier on today because of the weather conditions that seen as the start, we've caught up a lot of time. If you look at the actual intervals in minutes, we are just about right where we normally would be during a sunny day.
Yeah, it's impressive from the K1 crew, and impressive from the drivers too, keeping it on track for the most part. I say that as it's probably going to jinx one of these drivers, so I apologize in advance for that. But things going smoothly so far. The K1 Circuit Whiteland crew have been incredibly efficient today in getting this race to happen too. It was a huge question mark if we'd even be racing today, so for them to be able to get everything sorted and make this event happen, it has to be a huge kudos to everyone involved here in Whiteland. Just ticking under 2 minutes to go as you saw Chase Call head under the timing and scoring tower to complete yet another lap. So time starting to wind down in this mini Swift race. 22.5 seconds is the gap between Daniel Dragunov and Chase Call. It's 42 seconds between himself and Martinez. So we're kind of getting to that point, Justin, where we might be seeing Daniel Dragunov get by, as he did get by Martinez to put him one lap down.
It's a good chance he might actually lap the field, which would be an astonishment if it does happen here. Still, coming up to 1 minute to work with before we get to the lap count. Right now, 46 twos, but a second quicker a lap on average right now is the margin. It was 50-second lap times being put up by Martinez before that point. So, 50 seconds to go on the clock that time by the stripe. Dragunov continues to look like a rocket.
Yeah, just doing what he's got to do out in front, hitting his marks, getting very close to the outside wall there in turn 6. That's been able to bite a few drivers in the past, but everyone today getting through there nice and clean. That's exactly what Dragunov has been doing so far. I believe it will be 3 laps to go. I don't think he'll get to the line before I see the clock wind down, and he won't. It'll be 3 to go. So 2 laps to go next time across the stripe as the clock hits 0. Small hiccup we saw in the pre-final where he spun in this next corner of turn 7. But still, an utterly impressive run from the 151 new gen driver.
Outright flying throughout this entire race today. Dragunov, that kart is a rocket. 2 laps to go. Only a couple more times around for Daniel Dragunov with how things are going to go here. Dragunov has been extremely comfortable this entire run. Up near 30 seconds on the margin as things carry forward here. Even with that rain starting to tumble on down more and more. Dragunov coming to the course, gets ready to take the white flag this time by. Only coming up to 1 more lap to go to close out what's been a choo-choo train type of a kart to drive for him. White flag is out. Final time around.
Yeah, that kart has been locked down all day. And of course, you don't have the battling for the lead that we've seen in other categories, but sometimes it's just as impressive and fun to watch a driver be so dominantly quick in a class and to watch them drive the wheels off that thing, which Daniel Dragunov has done. Kudos to him. Half a lap to go to secure this mini Swift victory.
Outright dominant. There's no other way to put it. Dragunov started this race with no mistakes at all. And today has flown his way all the way to the checker flag. Daniel Dragunov gets the victory and does so by more than 30 seconds over Chase Call. Blake Martinez finishes a lap down. My goodness, what else can you say?
Not much other than looking at that time difference. 32 seconds is wild for Daniel Dragunov. Driver we didn't see last time out for the opening round. So for him to start off his K1 Circuit Whiteland campaign in 2025 with a dominant win in Mini Swift, how about it for him? Might be in the 206 Sportsman or Cadet class later on today, so hopefully we get to see more of him, potentially more battling for the lead. And like we saw in Mini, but there you see, Justin, the rain continuing to come down hard on a portion of the track we were scheduled to use, but it's a bit flooded right now, so unable to use that one. And K1 Circuit Whiteland officials making that move to use the cutoff earlier on in the day. But as we get set to head on to our next round of action with more fun battles, hopefully, in the next coming moments.
Yes, indeed. Just waiting for the command for our next grouping to hit the track and be able to go here after a dominant mini race. 206 medium is due up next. And that includes Nick Patton, Braden Hibbert, Nicholas Nostman, Andrew Goldman, Levi Wilbur, and Logan Lynch, the field starters. Interesting enough, there was a penalty for that contact, remember, that started with Levi Wilbur getting spun around. The 73 picked up a 5-second avoidable contact penalty in that race.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. Haven't seen a lot of penalties called today on the count that there has been such clean racing. So unfortunate to see there, but it was a bit of a messy start for those mediums in the pre-final.
Just about ready to go here with 6 karts on track. Want to join in the conversation? Be sure to comment and subscribe to the channel. Of course, if you're watching this race, you are part of the members that are able to view today's action. If you want to join that conversation, why not say hello? As the field says hello to the green flag this time by, we're underway once again. Senior medium. Nick Patton off to a good start is side by side for second. Nossman and Heber getting a little bit of the elbows out. Heber jumping his way up to second. More elbows out for the battles for third and fifth. Side by side, 2 by 2.
I think we were 4 wide for a second there, Justin, in a class with only 6 karts. That's pretty wild, but Braden Heber taking the point away from Patton. That is Heber now back to the lead after some issues that we saw in the closing stages of the pre-final, where it seemed like Heber was losing power, potentially some water gain into that engine. Those guys will have done an oil change on the kart to get any unwanted liquid out of the 206 that he's got underneath his right arm. So that thing is looking quick as ever at the hands of Braden Heber. Nick Patton's going to have his work cut out for him, but he is holding on to the rear bumper as 1 kart around. That is the number 2 of Goldman, who is already running in 6th and not making their day any easier.
Yeah, that is not going to help their day in terms of points whatsoever. That's the understatement of the day. Nossman has already fallen back in our spot, getting the elbows out, battling with Wilbur in the backdrop for third position. Top 2 single file, but Wilbur, we were expecting him to be in the conversation potentially for the lead, if not a podium. Well, he's already back on the podium steps.
Yeah, running in that 3rd spot, and now he's going to try and see if he can close up to Patton. 1 kart going for a bit of a half spin there. I believe that was Nossman, the 73 machine. Just spread out ever so slightly again. Looks like Wilbur might have had a bit of a mistake coming through turn 5 that allowed Nick Patton to get so far in front, as it was about 8 tenths between the two of them. Wilbur gained 2.5 tenths last time by, and must have been through the cut through or turn 5, Justin, that we saw that mistake that allowed Patton to get a bit more breathing room.
Wilbur starting to spiral back, is already passed by Nossman and now by Logan Lynch for a good measure. A spin up the track, nearly up into the side of Wilbur. Held on to by Lynch, though. He keeps going after sliding the wrong way around in the grass.
Not what you want to do in the early stages of this race, but of course with the final being longer than the pre-finals, 10 minutes plus 2 laps. Still got 7 minutes to go to try and make up any lost ground, but still in a very competitive 206 senior medium class on a tricky condition circuit like we have today. It's going to be a bit of a mountain to climb for him.
Still under 7 minutes to work with in this race as the battles continue on for second. Nicholas Nostman waiting in the wings, looking to see if he can find a way around that 21 kart. Now building up the run. Do they start getting defensive here? Do they start sending it? How about bump drafting in the rain for good measure?
It's not something that you really want to do too often, especially with how squirrely the rear end of these karts gets in the rain. That's something I always try to avoid, is the rear bumper of another kart when I'm following in the wet weather. But if these drivers are comfortable with it, then have at it. But some risks being taken there, and I'm getting away with it that time.
Yeah, right now, trying to pressurize even more risks and pressurize even more mistakes. Right now, Patton holding comfortable in front. Nostman still looking to push. Oh, that seemed to work really well on that push down on the draft. Now goes to the inside. Nostman not able to get the switch back, however. Patton holds serve and holds on for the position despite some of the side-by-side of the following corner. And oh, look at the cross. Nostman takes advantage and able to poke his way back in front.
Yeah, some great battling first, second right now between Nostman and Patton. A lot of side-by-side crossover action between these two, as you can see the difference of lines between the two of them. Nostman deciding to go high and wide and handsome through turn 5 and getting that run out of the corner, with Patton trying to low line it in 5, seeing if the grip is there yet. Unfortunately for him, found out the hard way that is still very slippery on the apex of turn 5 and losing a substantial amount of time to the driver in second.
Yeah, right now, Nostman seems to be a lot quicker compared to earlier on in the day. Nicholas Nostman had been stuck basically in place before in his kart. Now, looks extremely comfortable. Still 4 minutes to work with at the moment. Some other battles on the track. Wilbur, once those grouped up together right now with Lynch. You also have Goldman that's on his own for the time being. Right now the battle for fourth. See them starting to pull apart.
Yeah, everyone starting to find their own rhythm at this point. It's not uncommon to see these races start to fan out a little over halfway through, as these rain races typically do. Not the pack racing you're used to seeing in 206 competition like you would in the dry. I say that move being made there side by side across the line. Still side by side through 1 and 2, and they're both off in the dirt, and that could be race over, especially for Wilbur, who seems like he is beached on that curb, along with Lynch. That is 4th and 5th who are out. Wilbur didn't seem happy with that one, putting both hands in the air, but it takes 2 to tango on that one, and really Justin going side by side through turns 1 and 2 this direction is already difficult enough. Do it in the wet, and really you're just asking for trouble.
And more attrition building up as a result there. It looks like Wilbur is walking his kart by himself back around the racetrack. That is right as the leaders drive on by. Nostman has closed up the gap substantially as well. Mind you, with part of that potentially playing a factor, it was down under 2 seconds last time by. And now Nostman seems to be putting on the NOS speed last time by, near a second quicker last time by.
I mean, it's just like what we saw last race, isn't it, Justin, where we think Braden Heber has this huge lead that no one can get, and then somehow, some way, the driver following in second starts to close up on that gap. Last time was Patton. This time, it's Nostman found a 10th last time across the stripe. It's not much, but as a driver, especially if you're Braden Heber, you look back, you can see that 10th and a half start to close, and you can get in your mind about it. So Braden Heber's honestly just got to keep his head forward, worry about his own race, and he got himself into this lead that he currently has of 1.7 seconds. Just got to worry about that, not worry about Nossman closing that gap. It'll be interesting to see if we have the same issue for Braden Heber like we had last time with too much water, potentially too much water getting into the engine. It's pure speculation, but from all the 206 racing I've done in the wet, it's most likely what happened for Braden Heber. Coming across the timing and scoring line with just over a minute to go. It was 1.7 seconds. It's now down to 1.3, Justin. 3.5 tenths taken off of Heber's lead by Nossman, and we have a race for the lead on our hands.
Has to keep going. He has to go even faster, though, if he wants a true shot here. Coming up to likely going to be 3 to go based on the margins here on the board. Needing to chip away even more so. Nossman pushing even more so. Let's take a look at where they are interval-wise once they come across the stripe. Margin-wise on the vision test seems about the same. But what is it on the speed charts? This time by 20 seconds left on the board, give or take. The gap, 1.7. That went the wrong direction for the 73 Kart.
Yeah, absolutely. Braden Heber is looking over his shoulder. You just got to stop doing that. Worry about your own race, Braden. You can get in your own head so easily by doing this, especially so late in the race. 2 laps to go for these guys. Next time they come across the stripe, like you said, 1.7 seconds. Last time they came across, it'll be interesting to see if Nossman has found more pace than what he did last time. Could have just been a small mistake, but in a 206 in the rain, a small mistake is worth about 3.5 tenths, and that's just out of one corner. So we'll see what Heber can do. About the same. Nothing really gained there from Nossman, about 100th of a second, but that's obviously not going to be enough at this stage of the race. As they'll be making their way onto the back straight yet again, and it seems like Braden Heber has turned up the wick a little bit out front.
Yeah, started to really separate back out a little bit, if not stretch out. Corners have been the big difference there. Nossman nearly sailed it off and away in that corner, in fact. Should see the white flag coming up this time by for Heber, who today has been looking quick. We've seen the Kart slow down, though, in the final moments of the last one. Not this time. White flag is out. Final time around, it is 1.4 seconds. But is there going to be a chance for Nossman to close up? It's going to take a miracle.
He's going to have to hope from a mistake from Heber here, Justin, because it's not a gap that you can close down, at least in 206 racing around here. Braden Heber has looked pretty bulletproof in the second half of this race once he's turned up the wick, and he's about a few seconds away from getting a race victory here in 206 medium.
Coming to the final corner. Braden Heber putting on some dominating speed yet again. He runs away from the field, holds on to a near 2-second cushion to take the checker flag. He wins in the medium. Nossman in second. Patton rounds out the third spot here, Nate.
Yeah, sorry to step over you there, Justin. Impressive run, as always, from Braden Heber, especially like what we saw from him in the opening round. 1.5 seconds to the good of Nossman. That's going to be good for his championship hopes in 2025 as well. Braden Heber, definitely one to look out for here for the IKC championship, and hopefully for more Kart Chaser streamed events in 2025.
Indeed, so we're about halfway through the program here for the finals. That's going to bring us to our next drivers. K.A. Jr. due up next. You see some of the excitement. Some of these drivers ready to go racing. Mason Gallion will lead them to the green flag. Gallion in the blue. Then it's Laser, Patton, Avalos, who are the 4 that are scheduled to start in this next pack for KA Junior. And I'm curious what happens in this field here. What do you think?
I was just thinking that, Justin, funny you would ask. Gallion and Laser have obviously been the ones to look out for so far in this race, or in this class, I should say, in KA100 Junior. But you have to say the rest of the field might be able to throw a wrench in the works. It's very easy for 2 winning contenders to be taken out, and we just saw that in 206 medium. Be interested to see what Evan Patton can do. He was so quick here for the opening round of the season for round 1 just a couple weeks ago, starting on that second row, the AMAX machine, who's been racing not only here at Whiteland in 2025, but also made an appearance in Daytona for the USPKS race there a month or so ago. So we'll have to see what happens ultimately. You think you have a good gauge of what's going to happen, and then stuff like James Fox losing it from the lead happened earlier on today. You just can't call what's going to happen, so you're going to have to stay tuned for the next 10 minutes plus 2 laps. They're as fired up as we are, Justin, to get this KA Junior final ready to go.
See some of the drivers indeed fired up for the right side of your screen. As we just wait for the word to be able to get going here. Remember, we had several karts that had off tracks and crashes in that last one. And that might be the one thing we're waiting upon here before we get going here. It looks like most of the karts cleaned up. We are clearing some stuff from the track. There's the answer. See the sweeper going sweeping to make sure there's no more dirt on the racetrack and no water buildup.
Yeah, it's one thing that a lot of tracks don't do session by session is just clean up any marbles or water on track. K1 Circuit, Whiteland crew going to work there, putting in the extra effort to make sure these drivers are having a good racing surface. That is exactly what you don't want to happen to your visors, having that fog up. Usually a lot of drivers will run Rain-X, or Molecule has some products that help out with that as well, but making sure that visor does not fog up on you mid-race is crucial. So for that driver in the 7, that would be Vilos, starting in the 4th spot. Probably going to have to run with that visor cracked a little bit or open some vents, because that's not going to be sustainable for 10 minutes plus 2 laps.
Field getting in position here to go racing once more. Again, 4 karts are in this one amongst this field. 2 by 2 and ready to go. Field in the hands of Mason Gallion. Then it's going to be a Laser, Patton, Avalos. Once again, to reset your field orders that go to the tram lines. Drives the puddles, get themselves ready to go. Green, green, and green. We're underway. And on the outside, it's Laser who gets the start. Laser able to take the lead already.
And obviously the outside line being the line that's been dried off, or being attempted to dry off, I should say, all day long, as the inside line will have more moisture on it and not a great place to punch off. So really starting on pole isn't that huge of an advantage today for those drivers that won the pre-final or will be qualifying on pole for their pre-final later on today. But you can see already that is a good jump from Laser out in front. Side-by-side action between Patton and Galen for second, as they're not allowing them to get too far up. I say that, around goes Galen, and that is day done on the second lap. That is unfortunate for the Top Kart driver, because they seem like they could have brought it to Laser, especially with them being on pole for this race. Not how you want to end your day, Justin. That is so unfortunate for a driver that had so much promise.
And so much chance to be able to take the win. Absolutely. Now, Laser has a comfortable lead, somewhat comfortable, should say, with Patton in the popcorn seat if there was anything to happen to the 800 kart. Still less than 9 minutes to go. Laser putting up a 44-4 to begin things there.
Yeah, exactly what you need to do for Laser, not let the rest of the field think that they have an opportunity to bring it to you now that Galen's gone. Evan Patton has a chance to try and prove himself a little bit in the wet here. He was going in the first round of the season fairly quiet, not really making a ton of enemies, going for a lot of passes up front throughout the opening parts of the day. But come the final, he really turned the wick up and was giving the leaders everything he had in that one. This time it's going to be a little different of a game plan for him. Just got to have his head down and close up what is a 1.8 second gap that did grow pretty substantially last time across the stripe. That was 4.5 tenths lost to Laser out in front. So Evan Patton's going to find something. 4 tenths around a wet track is hard to find, but if you hook up a couple of corners correctly and find the grip where others haven't, who's to say we might not have Evan Patton in this race lead?
Yeah. Once again, we've seen it happen time and time again here today, where all it takes is one mistake, right? And you go to the point. Slipping and drifting their way to the corner this time. 7 minutes to work with here in this race. By the way, for those curious, what is the weather going to be like at this point? To update your forecast. The heavy rain forecast part is gone, but it's still expected to stay rainy with some maybe light rain for a little bit now, rather than heavier rain that's expected to pick up at 2 o'clock. So it is expecting to lighten up a little bit now in the weather.
Yeah, it'll most likely keep the track in this same state throughout the day, which might make it a little bit easier for drivers. It's not fluctuating as much between heavy rain and no rain. To keep the track in its same state will be a little bit easier for teams and drivers to help set up these karts. Front two across the line, and it goes the way of Lazier. That time, Patton around from P2. He might actually be able to get away with this. He won't, as Velos is right there, but that's not what you needed to do if you were Evan Patton. He had a chance at this race win. 2 seconds is pretty easy to make up in the wet if things go your way, but now he finds himself down in third, still on the podium, but not on the step he would have wanted starting today.
Yeah, that's going to cost him some points in the standings right now if things hold. So things look great for Laser. Gallion is now at the point where he might get lapped possibly if things don't go right with how things go right now. So we'll see where the actual intervals go of Owls. Now holding on to a 7.6 second difference between first and second. Patton settled out 10 seconds back of the leader.
Yeah, and I think attrition is going to be the word of the day, especially for these finals. It's a little interesting to see because it surprised me in the pre-finals how clean everyone was being and just keeping all four on track. And it seems like switch has been turned during these main events for these drivers, where a lot more mistakes being made. Even there, just for Evan Patton getting so close to the outside of the circuit, it's almost a risk you don't want to take at this point. But for Evan down in third, it's the worst he's gonna get, really, with, I believe, Galen did make his way back out on track, so could still fall off the podium. But at this point for Evan Patton, you're just going to leave it all on the line to try and get second back and potentially a win if Laser does make any mistakes, which we have seen the leaders do multiple times just in these main events alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Still 4 minutes to work with here in this one. Patton now watches as the 7 opens up the arc. Able to keep on in front as of Owls, but that's not going to last long if he keeps on leaving arcs like that one. Still keeping up the pressure is Patton. Now forcing the mistake. Couldn't get the car to grip, though. The kart nearly turned around on Patton. Now looks to line it back up.
Yeah, and they're just trying to find the grip and where they can punch off just a little bit earlier on that throttle to get an upper edge on the driver they would be battling. Obviously, Patton versus Velos is around the outside. That was impressive from Evan Patton there. Back into second. He's now about 10. He's going to be about 10 seconds back from the lead he is. That's 10.6 back from Laser leading the way. Just got to keep your head down at this point if you are Evan Patton and keep Velos behind to continue on in that second spot and just hope for a little bit of a mistake from Laser at this rate.
And right now, I don't think that's going to come unless he slides off the track like we've seen a few people do today. Patton slides on forward, nearly put some tires in the grass, actually, on that apex entry. But still able to gain some time compared to the 7. Under 2.5 minutes to work with right now. There's a look at Laser. And since that mistake for Gallion, where Gallion actually has lost time net in this race, mind you, if you look at that interval, he's been getting faster and faster in this race. 44.7s last time by.
Yeah, 44.7 last time by, but like we were saying, that 44.5 for Patton last time by for him. So the gap is closing. 0.2 a lap is not going to be enough in any stretch of the imagination to get that one done for Patton. But again, just he'll have to wait from a unlikely mistake from Laser at this point. The new gen driver has been perfect so far in this main event. Is about a little under 1 minute 30 to go here on the board for KA100 Junior. As you can see there, the rest of the field in the background making their way around. Doing a little bit of check over the shoulder is Laser, just checking where everyone else is on track, not worrying about them too much, just those small snippets of information you can get as a driver. You take whenever you can. So kind of ease your mind a little bit so you're not thinking about it whilst driving. Just check, get that question over with, and focus on the job at hand.
Right now, the task at hand is 45 seconds left to go on the clock. See him just cruising along, still at the moment by 10 seconds. Gallion has stopped his bleeding, mind you, in terms of time loss. The other side of the track for the most part, but 32 seconds back is still what could have been for the 64 kart. 20 seconds to go, 3 laps to go for Lucien Laser.
Yeah, just 3 laps to keep doing what he's been doing. At this point, keep it on track. Don't worry about anything else. As you can see him flapping away in the wind in that clear rain suit that a lot of these drivers will run. Just to, ease your mind. You don't want to have to think about, sopping wet driving suit while you're out there. So a lot of these guys and girls will be running those throughout the day. Rooster tails are starting to make a reappearance, Justin, as the rain continues to trickle down and to keep a consistency of moisture on this track. 2 to go. This time by, though, for Laser to potentially get a top step finish here in KA Junior.
All Laser needs to do is keep going, keep driving, keep it clean. Don't go in the grass. Don't slip around. Just drive away once again. And right now, Laser, the kart doesn't want to stick in terms of grip, but it does have the pace to be able to hold on to a wide margin. Coming up to the white flag this time around, Laser starting to grow the gap again. One more time around for the 800.
Yeah, one more time for him to hold on to this lead. It's some of the most fun driving you can have as a driver is these tricky wet conditions, trying to find the grip and seeing that delta continue to go down on the Micron or whatever dash you are using. It's been clinical for Laser throughout the day. 11.5 last time across the stripe, and looking at a win here for race 2.
Coming up to the checker flag this time, Lucian Laser putting on a clinic of a day again. Final straightaway for the 800. Lucian Laser wins in KA Junior. Outright dominant race for him. Evan Patton second. Andrew Avalos does hold on to the third spot. Gallion will finish in the fourth position, Nate.
Yeah, not the most exciting race out in front that we've seen so far today, but like we were also saying, sometimes it's just as fun to see a driver out in front at the limit of their machine and watching them drive, and that definitely was the case for Laser today. 12 seconds to the good of Patton, like you said, an incredible run for him. Some good championship points to come along with it, as well as be moving on to the next step up on the ladder for IME Racing K100 Senior and Masters.
All right, so now we'll see what this class has in store for itself. Wait for the drivers to get that command coming up here again. 6 drivers took the start in the last race. Raider Santos taking the top spot in the heat race last time out. You also have in this mix AJ Lund, Dane Van Dyke, Macy Gallion, Blake Finley, Jediah Jonas are the drivers due up in the order here for when they get the chance to roll. And we've seen Santos pull away by near 5 seconds after he took the race late in the last one here, Nate.
Yeah, Raider was incredibly impressive last run, struggling a bit last weekend, well, the last race weekend we had for IKC, got a podium out of it, but he will be hoping for 2 better than the 3rd spot on the podium and a race win here today for the AMAX driver. Definitely isn't off the cards, but we still got a talented group of drivers here for KA Senior that want to take that title away from him.
All set to go as we'll get things underway here. And a sea of blue and white cards amongst this field's running order here. Remember, the best times were in the 44-second bracket for this class earlier on today. So we'll see what they are able to do. Remember, Jonas was amongst the DNF list. We'll see if he's able to redeem himself for a good finish here. Field just getting in position to get ready for the tram lines, it looks like, already zipping their way forward before they get to that stretch. Raider Santos, AJ Lund going to be on the front row. So they now go to double them up this time. And a slow approach after a fast speed up to the tram lines. See how calmly they take this start. Coming up to the green. Green flag is out. We're underway for K100 Senior. Good start. Clean start. As Santos tries to hold on, Lund tries to go around the outside, shuffles back in line.
Yeah, not able to do anything about Raider Santos and his run so far. It was a good start for him, but AJ Lund is right there on Santos, unable to get anything done in turn 7 and loses the rear end just a little bit there, and able to opening the gap is Santos.
Yeah, Santos just trying to build a buffer right now at the time. The question is, can he maintain a buffer with AJ Lund's pace? We've seen him on the short run. Top 2 pull away. They gain themselves about half a second. over the rest of the field.
Yeah, and it was the same mistake there from Santos in the same corner on the opening lap last time, where he just went a little bit too wide and got into the puddle on the outside of, I believe that would be turn 8 on this configuration, where allowed AJ Lund to get to the lead. It's not the mistake you want to be making at this stage of the race, but of course 10 minutes plus 2 laps is a long time around a rain-soaked K1 circuit at Whiteland. So with the speed we saw from Santos earlier on, he will definitely be making a charge on AJ Lund for that race win.
Yeah, right now at this point, just got to be able to see what happens here amongst these two. AJ Lund holds on in front. The rest of the choo-choo train working together. Dane Van Dyke currently holds on to that third spot.
Yeah,
Now,
like you said,
we'll
it's
see what happens with this pack. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to jump over there again, Justin. Like you saying, it's just you can see how big that gap is between the rest of the field. More shuffling going on between the 4th and 5th spots. As you can see Dane Van Dyke leading the way on that Cosmic Kart, going a little bit wide there. It's going to allow Jonas to get by. You remember him from the driver who went out early in turns 1 and 2 in the pre-final, going into those barriers there. But panning over more to AJ Lund and Raider Santos. Last time by, Justin, Lund went fastest over Santos by just under 10th and a half between those two. So can't separate them for the time being. Still got about 7 minutes remaining on the clock. And of course, those 2 extra laps once they do run out of time. So Santos staying within attacking range, but Lund is looking a lot stronger than what he did in the pre-final.
Yeah, we're looking a lot stronger. The question is, how strong can he maintain side by side? Meanwhile, building up in the heart of the field. That involves Gallion and Van Dyke getting dropped down to position. Gallion able to move up to the 4th position now in the running order with that pass. Still, Blake Finley holds on to the caboose in this pass at the moment. So, up front, it's 0.6 of a second, by the way, between 1st and 2nd as things go here with 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, as this pack has just started to unravel a little bit, kind of the accordion effect you see in rain racing, especially in karting. That pack of 4 wasn't going to be able to sustain itself for the entirety of the race. We should see a couple more battle packs start to form, maybe a 2x2. Later on between these 4 drivers, but you can see there just out of frame now, the gap between Santos and Lund has increased to 1 second. Unfortunate for Santos, who seemed like he had a ton of pace and could have been able to take this win. But like we said earlier on, Justin, I wonder if it was almost a matter of Santos getting those tires dirty, having to start offline on the inside row. Driver around, I believe that would be Galen. That is on the top kart machine. So that is them from 4th down into 6th. It wasn't a podium spot for them that they lost, but still, unfortunate way to have your final go. Still over halfway to go at this point with 5 minutes plus 2 to go.
Right now, that lead still holding on to 1 second, by the way, at the moment. And right now, Santos doesn't seem to have the same amount of grip and pace as earlier before. It seemed like maybe been a bit more comfortable maybe with the drier portion of the track like it was during the heat, you'd have to think. Because right now in this final, it is not gripping up the same way where he was able to take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just not doesn't seem like he's a driver. What we see in the pre-final is Santos. It could be that, or Lund and Top Kart have found a setup and a half to put on that chassis, because AJ Lund just seems like a new driver. As you can see him there, Rooster Tail's coming off the rear tires. Track is still very wet out there, but yeah, AJ Lund, what can you say? This has been an impressive performance from him thus far.
Very impressive, absolutely. With what we've seen from him under 4 minutes to go in this race. So what do you do now, though, if you're Santos, when you know you're on the back foot with how things are going? What do you do to find that speed in the wet?
I mean, it's hard because you see that gap and you maybe start to overdrive a little bit. And, overdriving these very soft compound tires isn't always the best thing. It usually isn't good for them. That being said, half a second to the good was Santos last time across the stripe. The gap is now back under a second. It's 9.5 tenths or thereabouts. Be interesting to see what happens when we cross the start-finish line this time. That gap goes back up to a second because AJ Lund goes purple of 44.352 compared to the 44.48 that Santos just set down. It seems like we're starting to get that accordion effect, Justin, between these front two. And it'll be interesting to see who can sustain this pace the longest, as we are 3 minutes and 2 laps away from checkered flag.
And what do accordions do? They compress, but also they contract when you try and play music. And right now, that accordion's showing pretty much back and forth on that motion with the way things are looking at the moment. Give a shout out to Jonas in that third spot yet again, able to recover from his crash. Jonas having some great pace in that 36 kart today as the leaders compress again.
Yeah, Santos doing a 44.2 that time. That equals his fastest lap from the last race. So maybe it was just a fact of Santos needing a little bit more time to get that OTK up to speed. Are Lund making mistakes like that in the back section of the track? Turn 7 goes way wide. He was fighting the front end of that car to find any sort of grip he could. Ended up finding it, but now he's got an AMAX driver on the back bumper, and now on his side pod, not able to get the job done is Ryder Santos, but he is a new driver in these last couple of laps as we well and truly have a battle on our hands. Half a second gained that time by for Ryder Santos, as Lund was down in the 45s for that one. Is Santos in that 44.5 time bracket. 1 minute plus 2 laps to go between these two. The battling isn't over yet, and like we've seen all throughout today, Justin, and just last lap with AJ Lund, one mistake can make all the difference. It can be the difference between you standing on that top step and having to deal with being runner-up.
Coming up to a minute to work with on the board here. Santos starting to provide those footsteps. Needs to close up if he wants a chance to make a move here. Needs to close up fast if he wants a chance to be able to retake the lead after trailing by as much as near 2 seconds at one point here in this final. Right now, the gap not closing up enough. Trying to get some draft a little bit down. Not doing much for justice, but he's able to get it to stick a little bit more that corner.
Yeah, it seems like Lund has been able to back off a little bit. Might have been overdriving the tires a little bit and overheating them. And obviously not good for these rain weather tires. But you could see drivers start to do what we see in like X30 or Pro Shifter driving and backing off for a couple of laps, letting the tires cool down, maybe finding the puddles on the inside of the track if they think those tires are starting to grip up too much. Looking at the timesheet, pretty much the exact same, 0.002 to the good of AJ Lund last time by. It was almost identical lap times. It's going to be 2 to go next time across the stripe to decide who gets it in KA Senior. It's been thrilling so far between Lund and Santos. You can see there, 2 sticks in the air getting ready to be displayed for our race leader, the top kart driver, number 43. Of AJ Lund. Does the gap increase this time? I think it will. It looks a lot more than half a second, and it goes to 9/10 of a second, Justin. Ryder Santos at this point needs to turn on the afterburners if he wants a chance at this win.
Right now, those afterburners aren't kicking up in gear at the moment. This is going to be tricky for him to be able to close. He's lost ground yet again Bit of a wiggle for Lund. Doesn't cost him too much time, though, on the interval. Coming up to the white flag, this time by for KA Senior. Lund looking to hold on. Santos looking for a magic mushroom or a magic star like you would be in Mario Kart. Final time around.
It's just looking at the behavior of that kart, it seems like Santos is just so locked down. I think those tires have had it on the 936 machine. He's going to have to wait for a kart that's set up the complete opposite of AJ Lund, who is slipping and sliding his way around like a 410 sprint around K1 circuit Whiteland here. It's 6/10 last time by, and that gap has increased on this point. I think, Justin, this is going to go the way the top kart on AJ Lund.
Well, he has to make it through one more corner to close out that statement. AJ Lund comes through the final corner and will take the checker flag. AJ Lund wins in KA 100 Senior.
What a run for him in this KA Senior final. A race that, honestly, after the pre-final, seemed like it was Santos to lose. Hitting the steering wheel, I think he's going to be really frustrated with that one. This was a really good opportunity for a win for Santos. That being said, he's going to be in this championship fight later on in the season. Second place, it's still some very good points for Santos, but kudos to AJ Lund. That was an incredible drive for him. Jonas rounding out that podium, Justin, of this 3-kart class. And yeah, you only had 6 karts in it, but what a race that was.
What a race up front. What a race for some of the others in the field today. They're able to celebrate some good performances here today. So that leaves indeed one more classification. And that will be the 206 Legends and the 206 Super Master Heat. And those drivers now getting the command to roll. We've gained a kart, haven't we? Yes, we did.
I believe we have.
Yeah, that's Chris Whitaker that's now jumped into the field in Supermaster. So all of a sudden, we have a race for the Supermaster win.
Love to see that. Don't have driver pulling in on the first lap and securing that. So we actually have a battle for the win in both classes now. This should be fun to watch, Justin.
Almost set to go here. Again, your lineup looks like this. It's Harleman, it's King, it's Richard Lemasters in the Super. Then it will now be Whitaker alongside him joining in on the racing after not taking part in qualifying or the heat race. So you'll see Whitaker in the all-red suit. Are you ready to go racing? Well, let's find out, shall we? One more final in the morning. All set, green flag in hand. Let's go racing. We're back underway. And there goes Harleman to the front. He leads things in the Legends while Whitaker takes away the lead in Supermaster.
I was going to say, this is going to be interesting for Whitaker because he doesn't have any laps on the track that I'm aware of to this point. So he's having to learn the track, and Lemasters maybe starting to wish he would have done a couple more laps instead of pulling in on the first lap because he could have found some knowledge on the track surface and where is quick. So nice to see battle for the win in both classes. That being said, though, Harleman, look at the gap already, and we haven't even crossed the start-finish line to complete lap number 1. That's going to be quite the gap to try and close down for King if he can. Waiting to get that time between the two of them, and it is a difficult one to try and catch up. That is 2.8 seconds between the two leaders in that category, but we still got a battle for the lead between Whitaker and Lemasters further back.
Whitaker indeed holding on in front. Seem pretty evenly matched, at least in the short term. We'll see where they are in the long term. Lemaster seems to be trying to push hard to be able to keep up here It's been smooth sailing for the 82. Outside of that, now his smooth sailing sends him alongside for the race lead. We've seen a lot of crossover moves work into the final corner today based on line, but Whitaker holds on for now.
Yeah, holding on for now, but LeMaster's still giving it everything he's got, getting back by for that third spot. So these two going at it for a class victory. Yes, third and fourth on track overall, but of course, with the 206 Masters and Legends being run at the same time, we get 2 races for the price of 1. As clock continues to tick down on this 10 minutes plus 2 lap final that we have, about 7 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in this one. So still a lot of time for drivers to potentially make mistakes and for more factors to be brought into this one.
Yes, indeed. Right now, the gap grows. Now up for LeMasters over Whitaker. Still 7 minutes. Turn on the clock at the moment. As we see Tom Harleman do Tom things, the lead 9 seconds already. This has gone really well for Tom Harleman up at the very front of the field at the inner end of the course.
Yeah, absolutely. 9 seconds at this stage of the race is very impressive from Harleman. But like we've seen drivers get out to these huge gaps earlier on, like James Fox in Micro, and threw it away in the final couple of minutes, which was unfortunate to see for him. And just using him as an example here of you can be as far out in front as you want, but until you see that checkered flag, you got to focus in and make sure you keep it all 4 on track.
Yeah, just gotta keep focused up right now is the main goal with this. And, finish out with the checker flag. That's kind of the goal of why you are here for this one today. As the rest of the field, you see how that separation is for them right now. Under 6 minutes to go in this one here, Nate. What's on the mind with what we've seen in this race with the separations?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit harder for these guys, especially after seeing the consequences of dropping a tire or making a small mistake. They'll be thinking about that in the back of their head, watching all the other classes in this morning group go before them. So they well and truly know the consequences of making a mistake around here. That being said, with the Legends and Masters drivers, they should be able to put that aside and just be able to focus on the driving in front of them. As you see Harleman on screen, putting down another lap in the lead of the Legends class, as it was 14.5 seconds to second place Chad King last time across the stripe. Waiting for him to come across the timing and scoring beacon to see what we have as a gap now at 17 seconds, Justin.
That's massive. That's absolutely massive. But he's going to be having some fun out there with this big margin right now. It's 3 seconds the margin for the Supermasters race lead, by the way, with how things are looking over there. How will this fare out in the point standings is the question. Maybe some people may wonder here. As a result of a race like this, remember, it was only a max of 180 points last time out Tom had from that last time out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just got to continue on the trajectory he's on to try and maximize those points for him. Talking a little bit more about the Legends class and just Briggs 206 racing. These karts are 390 pounds is what Harleman is running at. So for an engine that obviously doesn't make the power that an Miami KA or a Swift would, and now you're adding 390 pounds of weight onto that kart, between the kart itself, the driver, and added lead weight, and you put it in the rain, it just makes it so crucial for these drivers, especially having to get these heavy machinery around without making any mistakes, because the little mistakes you make in a KA senior kart compared to a master kart in these rain conditions are vastly different, where you can still kind of power out of a mistake in a KA 100 or a micro or a mini, right? But in these 206s in the rain, you have to be inch perfect compared to the rest of the field, and that makes this 25-second gap for Harleman even more impressive.
Whitaker keeping up, meanwhile, with LeMasters. That right now is separated by less than a second, 0.3, in fact, last time by at the stripe. So Whitaker has found a little bit more in the gas tank to be able to close up this gap.
Yeah, there's almost contact there between a couple of the drivers, everyone staying away, and he'll just be disappointed with him.
Dotting said I's and T's when it comes to these runs. Already coming up to the final minute of the AM sessions here. Plus 2 laps to close out their runs as you see some of those drivers zip around. There's a look at Tom Harleman holding on to the lead still with 1 minute to go on the clock, and a spin in front. Has to drive around LeMasters. The LeMasters' race has spiraled out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 2 mistakes in just a couple of minutes' time. Not what he would have wanted, but still, he would have wanted to go for the win, Justin, absolutely. But still, when you think of grand scheme of things, points, second place, he'll probably take that once the adrenaline wears off.
Right now, back to Tom we go. 25 seconds to work with, looking like
its limit has been fun in itself to watch. Front straight for him, sticks in the air this time, 2 laps.
10 a.m. in terms of the qualifying session. Now, the AM session about to come to its close around 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So, coming up to the white flag this time by, and lap traffic ahead for Tom Harleman in Whitaker to close up the races. White flag is out. Final time around for Tom Harleman.
Just got to keep it on track like we've been preaching all morning long. A little bit of lap traffic potentially to deal with. And honestly, if you have a 39-second lead, Justin, don't even pass them. Just chill where you are. Don't take that risk. Just bring it on home from this point. You got a good point stay and a win in your pocket. Just got to protect that at all costs.
To the final complex, looks like Whitaker not going to worry about the traffic behind and Tom Harleman. These race leaders going to finish out one more lap for Whitaker to close out. But for Tom Harleman, checker flag is out. He takes the win in dominating fashion in 2:06 Legends.
42 seconds is insane by any metric for Harleman. Chad King coming in that second spot. He'll be coming across the line in more than a few moments' time, just obviously because of that 42-second gap and the absolute domination that he had. Just waiting for the rest of the field to come across. If they do come across in the same way that they finished, Chad King will finish in that second spot in Legends. Your winner in Supermaster be Chris Whitaker, and Richard LeMasters finishing in second of Supermasters. There's LeMasters. The driver had a couple of mistakes this race, went a lap down after leading the way in the Supermaster category. Chad King officially puts himself in second, and Chris Whitaker, your winner in 2:06 Supermaster, here for race 2 of the IKC.
On that note, though, it's just about time to say goodbye for the morning session. It's time for a 30-minute break. Till that point, it'll be the warm-up session. After warm-ups, we're back to return for the qualifying for the afternoon races, the Indy Karting Challenge. On that note, my colleague Nate Dean, for everyone here at Kart Chaser, we get ready to turn the page for the morning sessions and get ready to go to the afternoon. We'll see you in a little bit for more IKC.